Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. As usual, we appreciate your time listening to what we have to say. We think that we have some good guidance and some good work to share with all of you. But again, it's not lost on us that you're taking time out of your day to listen to what we have to say. So we're honored that you've done so, and we are respectful of that commitment and that we don't want to waste your time ever. Joining me today is Cade Simpson. Good morning, Cade.
Morning, Steve. Good to be here.
Cade is the operational mind behind everything that we do at Acuity, and we're really working on things that we're really sharing with you, things that we're doing with our own retail clinics. This is the second part of a three-part series in which we're exploring your clinics and our clinics and the world of third-party administrators. And do we want to be engaged with them, or do we want to disentangle ourselves with them, if that's a word? And we like to measure things and make our decisions based on that. We don't really go into anything willy-nilly. And we're going to talk today about some of the things that we've learned on whether or not they're profitable at all. But first, I kind of want to recap what we talked about last week, which is what mountaintop we want to claim, and what model do we want to participate in. Cade, can you give a brief synopsis of those two things? Oh, and before you start, I want to remind everybody, please type your questions in the chat and we will get to all of them. Cade, can you give us your thoughts on what we discussed last month?
Yeah, the three-part series starts who we are, what mountaintop we're claiming, who's our core customer. This one is the analysis, and then the third will be the execution. So back to part one, we talked about our mountaintop. I'd say that this is actually probably at the core of why third parties are such a hot topic in the industry. You go to conventions and association meetings or just talk to your colleagues, visit your own clinics, and it comes up, and there more often than not is an air of frustration with third parties. Why? Because I'd say that whether you use these words or not, our colleagues that we associate with the most joining this webinar, the people that have brick and mortar clinics and want to give best hearing to their patients in a fun environment to thrive in for their teammates. They're in the better hearing where the procedures matter, the outcomes matter. It's not about how many transactions we can get per se. It's about actually helping citizens in our communities. Claiming that hill and knowing and owning that hilltop is a very, very important aspect. It's maybe the most important aspect to this movement of ridding your business of third parties. I'll throw this out there too, Steve, that I think that with that comes a feeling of guilt if you're going to get rid of third parties, as if you're, casting off good people, good patients, good potential patients in your community. They have third party, they have an insurance that has it. It's not like they did anything bad. And we're talking about not taking them. And there's a feeling of guilt if we are to get rid of them. I do think that's part of it. We didn't touch on that too much last. I've been thinking about that and just thought I'd mention that or recognize that we understand that feeling. But
yeah, I think about the question of why is our model better for the patient than free hearing aids?
Yeah, if you Of course, you can decide to be in whatever kind of business you want to be. You want to sell hearing aids, widgets, gadgets on Amazon or something, then go for it. But we believe that what we want, I'll say it like, I've said it like this publicly before, I'll say it again. It's like if I am going to play the better hearing model. I actually want our customers, our patients, to actually have their lives changed in a significant way by the way that we treat them and the relationships that we build with them. They get to, as guaranteed as possible, go home to their families and have an elevated interaction with their community, whether that's their family, their friends, the social networks that they're part of, Christmases, Thanksgivings, insert all of those sort of key life moments in there. That's what we want. That's what we want for our patients. And it's like we've, in strategy exercises and moments, kind of putting different hats on, and we've created the bones of different business models, including third would be profitable, and we don't go do it because that's not what, it's not life-giving. I mean, our purpose statement in our retail organization is connecting lives. It's not how many hearing aids can we sell, it's connecting lives. And so we pound that into our daily dialogue and interactions with our teammates, that then of course trickles into what they give to the patients when the patients come in. Not to mention, it's like we're not teaching our teammates anything that's not already in them. They join our team because they want to connect live. They're joining your team, and I'm saying the attendees here that are listening in, they're joining your organization because they want to provide better hearing and not just be a assembly line of hand of a person and then tying their hands behind their back and not being able to give them their best care. We are tailors, artists, scientists. I love what Randy has said. Randy Schomburn has said for a long through the mind, from the mind, through the hands of a master. That summarizes the better hearing model and what we want to provide. It's a whole lot more fun of a world to be in, and it's better for the consumer.
Well, and I'll tell you, for those of you who are, well, we've adopted this model in our own clinics, and we absolutely believe in selling treatment plans and not hearing aids. And I see, and because I was trained by Bill Austin, he talked about it for 40, 50 years. Cheaper hearing aids are not the solution to our patients' problems. There are really 4 or 5 manufacturers that build most of the world's hearing aids, and here's the secret: they're all really good at it. But in order to properly make those hearing aids respond in the way that the patient needs, we need qualified, caring people that are taking their time and doing it right and following up correctly. We make these things programmable so that people can have them adjusted over time. We need to make sure that we're doing that and creating a proper meeting rhythm with our own patients, if you will. So I'm glad that everybody's here. That's a good recap of last week. Now let's get into the nuts and bolts of this week with some analysis. And you're going to see some measurements. And I know that the question has already been asked. Where do these measurements come from? Cade, where do these measurements come from?
There's measurement. Well, all of them proprietary. I'm going to say that Acuity is good at math. We're good at math. We have a proprietary custom metric engine that we've built. You know, there's other metric engines out there in the world, and we have our own. Of course, we have a level of biasness, but we're also have seen the others, and we're the only people measuring certain things that we have measured, which you'll see coming up. And so our custom metric machine is where it comes from. You know, last webinar, and you know, choosing your hilltop, and that point of it feeling guilty if you're to potentially cut out or knowingly cut out, you know, a segment of people that are good people in your community. That's true. It is the case, though, that the business it needs to survive and thrive, which will actually net help more people in the long run than if you're letting, for instance, third parties cannibalize and degrade the quality of your schedules. That's not good for anybody. So it is a good segue into this analysis piece where you've got the up and the why and the kind of foundation of who we are and what we should be doing, and then the analysis helps really logically put it together without emotion getting in the way. So it tells that story. So one of the things that we're good at with math, we're going to show you, I think we've got kind of four or five key metrics that we've used and use in analyzing third-party impact on this. And this is a good starting point. A lot of people do third parties because they think it's free revenue. They think, oh, well, there's no margin, there's no cost of goods, it's free revenue. And while that has a couple of truthful points, it's not the whole story. You got to consider all things. Now, you can create this in lots of different viewpoints. I'll explain a couple of the others here in a second, but this is two viewpoints that are core principle in the math of starting the story of, okay, third parties aren't actually helping me really. On the left, there's two graphs here, obviously, and on the left, average third-party transaction. By the way, this would be one of those areas where, again, if you're in and you have a question, or you want to dispute a point, or you want to see different math, then please put it in the chat or email Steve or I, and we can do the math. You know, or we accept the challenge. We make mistakes too. We've thought this through. So here you go. On the left, third-party transaction. The tall blue bar is your revenue from that transaction. By the way, this is to keep the numbers smallish. These are single-sided, you know, one year kind of transactions. So we're fitting fee. I know there's fitting fees out there that are a little more. There's also fitting fees out there that are a lot less. 500 is a pretty good average fitting fee. Now, one of the true absolute benefits of third-party transactions is that there's no cost of goods. 0 on the next column. Also, in this particular viewpoint with this third party, there's no marketing cost either. If you're signed up in a network with the third party, they're going to forward people to you, and you didn't have to pay any kind of marketing costs. Good. Things are looking good. But then we get to the next column, and that's our staffing costs. Our staffing costs, we've got minus $250. The next column is your G&A. That's your rent, your light bill, things like that, minus $450. I want to point this out. If you look at the actual amount from our third on the left, and then the amount of the G&A pay, they both say minus $450. Why is that? That's because our rent doesn't change, our electric bill doesn't change regardless of who we're seeing. That's very, very important. We said last webinar last month, for if you want to use third parties, it's really a business model. It's a different business model. And the people, now I was talking about creating business plans, make it profitable. You don't have two offices that have all the fancy equipment. You go rent closets on the 5th floor back hall of, some office building that's 5 streets off of the main street, and you're only paying a few $100s a month. That is where you can start to make it work. But you can see how that changes the model. You also have to staff differently. You can't staff full-time a PCC, can't have the same pay, et cetera, on a clinician. And you might have to have like 6 offices to go to in order to make a complete living, because the account of come to you just aren't enough to make a full-time clinic out of. Punchline of this graph is that the general administrative cost of running your business are baked in per transaction. You need your per transaction revenue to be enough that it covers all of the costs. I'm going to compare back to the pay on the 2 graphs. One of them's -250, one of them 750, because you would pay your team more if you're on a bonus or commission kind of structure. You're going to pay your team more than if they're on, than if it's just a third party transaction. But again, you've got a PCC, you've got getting some kind of salary likely, and so it's not like it's free. All right, add all those up. We're still looking at the third party graph. And you've got -200 in your profit margin. It's 500 revenue. You've got the 250, the 450, the zeros, -200. Come over to this transaction is going to be 2,500 for 1 ear. So 5,000 would be, if you added it, 2 ears would be 5,000. Because we see that again and again and again and again and again and again and again as a pretty common ASP. It's also still in the neighborhood. Third parties actually charge the patient. I feel like that gets forgotten every once in a while, that the patient's not paying nothing. They're just paying it to someone else. And then we're getting that, referral fee, call it. So 2,500, kind of a middle of the road ASP for the Better Hearing model. Now, cost of goods, it's not zero anymore. The cost of goods there, -800. That's a 32% cost of goods. In my opinion, that's a little on the high side, but that's about probably what it would be on your average transaction. This isn't a private pay. It's a really P&L view. If you go look at your P&L, what's your cost of goods, put that percentage in here. 32% is a nudge on the high side, again, from P&Ls that we look at of different businesses. So I'm trying to make it kind of liberal to not oversell the private pay margins, On the side, it's 10%. On the staffing, it's 30%. On the G&A, it's 18%. And that's the 450. And then that leaves us with 10% profitability. 10%, not bad. At least it's in the green. You can do better than that, but today we're not talking about how you optimize your P&L. We're just that transaction is not really adding to your profitability or the health of your business, especially when there's some other metrics that come into play, which we'll look at in just a second. That's about all I got to say on that slide, just showing the real math, Steve, on that third-party transactions in a brick and mortar model like most of our peers here have. It's not adding. It's not like a private pay transaction.
I like this graph because it it shouts at you that revenue is vanity and profit is sanity. We need to we need to live to keep our promise to our patients and our employees. We got a lot of families depending on us, and we get caught up in this as the commoditization of the industry happens. It's interesting when you take an objective look at. I remember, golly, I remember being guilty of it. You know, at a manufacturer level, we are concerned about your business. I promise they care about you like they say they do. However, they're really interested in units and market share. Um, that's why I'll say some of the manufacturers have embraced it more than the others, even going so far as to buy these TPA companies. They're really interested in market share. At Acuity, because we operate our own clinics, we're really interested in better patient care because in our experience, that leads to healthier profitability and makes this business that we're in a lot more fun. And so another question that we had, Cade, is, you know, as we get into this next slide is, uh, does doing business with third-party administrators in our practice, does it cannibalize our private pay? So Kate, as you're walking through this slide in the next few, just know that that question is out there, and I'd like for you to speak to it.
Yeah, that last slide parlays into this one quite well. I was mentioning there's different views you could make of those graphs. One of the different views relates to this. It's the cannibalization. And I'm bet thinking about that right now because on that first third party graph, there was no marketing expense. Well, that's when a third party is referred to you. Party, when a patient that you paid good money, your money through your marketing budget, and they have a third party, that makes the equation even worse. On average, it costs about $450 to have a lead acquisition patient sit in front of you. That's all things lead acquisition added up, all of your direct mail, your Facebook, your whatever, and then the people actually showing up. So we're not going to explain all that in super detail today. That's another webinar for another day on marketing metrics. But trust me, it's like if your cost per lead is $220 cost to get them in, they haven't showed up yet. You've got a certain amount of cancellation rate and no-show rate, yada, 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 yada. So $450. Go add that, another negative 450 back to the whatever it's called, to the third party graph, or even just 250, you know, whatever your marketing P&L expense is, let's say it's 10%, we'll just go put that over there. And again, it just makes it that much worse. Okay. This is one of our mother beast reports that comes out of our, and we're not going to look at every metric, but I will give you a general orientation to what this shows. This is, we call the workflow report. And it ultimately tells us how many appointments come in to our clinics and ultimately your business. And then it trickles it all the way down to how many people said yes to treatment, and then what kind of revenues and payments and things are we collecting. This is our third party version, which shows includes how many third party referrals and how many third party transactions we're putting our patients through. So if you look closely, there's really 4 shaded color areas. If you include the 3 gray columns all the way to the right, there's the really to the left, the little darker blue that's in the center, and then the darker blue that's to those 3 gray columns. It's 8 columns that in each. So the first 8 columns, that's your total business. It's all of your appointments. Like I'll read the headings real quick. All completed appointments referred by third party, all transactions, and then a conversion rate. That's just your transactions compared to overall private pay conversion rate, overall net third party conversion rate, and then overall conversion rate. In the middle, the medium blue, is all patients within the light blue, but it's pulled out just patients. So how many new people did we see? So it separate. Ultimately, we're going to get to the service visit patients. So this is all new patients, and it measures the same thing. How many new patient appointments did we have? How many were referred by a third party? How many transactions did we have third party? How many not third party? So on and so on. And then the dark is your service visit world. Okay, the question on the table, the feeling, the general sense that people have is, gosh, it feels like there might be some cannibal, or it's being cannibalized and they don't realize it. What does cannibalization mean? It means that somebody came in, and I like the scenario painted best with our good marketing money that we spent and invested in marketing, and then we put them through the third party portal. So we paid a lot of money for them, and then we put them through the third party portal. That's cannibalization of your revenue, unlike a third party referral where we didn't know this person, we didn't spend anything on marketing, and they came in purely because the third party network sent to us. This is a real analysis of you can see a significant business. This was like a 5-month view, and you can see there's almost 20,000 appointments. There's almost 4 million, and there is 4 million in revenue. Basically, this is a significant business. And I blew up two numbers here: the completed service appointments referred by a third party, and the net third party transactions from current patients, from service visits. The math speaks for itself. We had 87 people that were referred by a third party, and then 191 people that were put through the portal. What? Over 100 more than were referred? What in the world? That is cannibalization. These are people who they already had our treatment and on their quarterly visits, and the clinic is putting them through the third party portal. Oh my gosh. Here's something else. It's not necessarily a 1-to-1 ratio, meaning it's not just the 87. Some of the 87 we probably put into a private pay transaction. That just means that there's others that weren't, even more that weren't, that we're putting through the third party portal, not even trying to match. Again, even price matching is typically going to be a better scenario on the business end than putting them through the third party.
So over 100 patients more. And if we go back to this slide,
exactly
what happens to the left when we have to add that marketing cost in there?
Exactly.
So now we've added 250 marketing costs. We're losing even more money. But Kate, why do they put them through like that? We've talked about scalability of one model versus the other. We think that this one is more scalable. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, well, we talked about this.
Why do they put them through? Yeah,
we talked. This was the sort of peak punchline climax of the last webinar, and that is that we have found that when you are a better hearing model business, that let's say you're selling treatments that are $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. You're doing verifications and all the stuff about better hearing, outcome based, and also take third parties, which comes with a whole bunch of handcuffs with just the revenue that you get from it from the business. But then you've got the third party telling you, oh, you can only see them this many times. You can only charge them $65 for an office visit, blah, 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 blah. The clinic has this moral battle, internal battle which is wrong, by the way. It's like no fault to them. I'm not saying, I'm saying I am so sorry for putting you in that scenario. We put them in that scenario, and they think, okay, they've got this, so I've got to put them through it. That's the, ethical, moral thing to do. Where I'm saying the ethical, moral thing to do is give them better hearing. We can offer them better hearing. Choose to not use it. They can choose to go through the third party. We can't make them, but we don't have to make that decision for them. We should offer them our best, and let them decide. So it's that internal battle that they have where they think they owe it to the patient. And again, my opinion is that that's my fault as the business owner for putting you in that scenario, because we're trying to teach them. Like, I believe that most people agree with me on that misconstruedness. I wish I had a better vocabulary word, because what we're teaching our teams to do is one hat off, put the other hat on. So we're trying to teach them to separate, but they don't separate it because of the misconstruedness. So that's where we're saying, get rid of them. When you get rid of them, we've learned your team, it lifts that weight off of them, and it gives them more confidence in the better hearing that they provide, that they get to provide. This is our one solution. All I have to offer is my best. You should choose me. It's so stinking good. I can't wait to talk about that more in the real life examples in our. The cannibalization is real, Steve. It is real. I mean, when we ran this report, it was like, okay, we're done. I mean, get them out of here. The third parties this is not good. I've got this blown up because it's the most egregious example. Even in the new patient world, it's not as lopsided of a number, but there was another layer of analysis where we realized, okay, just because they were referred by the third party doesn't mean we didn't. I mean, there were people not referred, still put through the third party. There was still that cannibalization.
Well, yeah, because they fall into the trap because they're tuned into it, that it's their moral obligation to get the patient the best hearing that they can afford, and they think that this is the right way to do it. But we look at it, we back up and kind of reintroduce when we're making changes like this and say, no, our model is better hearing. It's not cheapest hearing aid. There's a big difference. Cade, why don't you walk us through all of these numbers? Tell us what we're looking at.
Okay, this is to show again our thoroughness. We do math. We like objective measurement. We like planning. We're like economists, of the and making predictions on how the economy is going to go after this or this or this or this decision. And so this analysis breaks down all of the transactions from all of the referrals, the fitting fees, everything that came with it, whether we were selling, because another thing that goes, oh, well, we'll sell them service plans, we'll sell them per appointment. And we measured all that, not just the fitting fee. If you look in you've got the first column, which is like the title, and then the second column, FF Rev. I'm on the left main graph, kind of in the top center. It says FF Rev. Bring your cursor up, right. Now go right.
Right there.
And right there. FF Rev, and then other rev, total rev. So we didn't just, FF means fitting fee. That came directly from the third party pay revenue. That's us selling service plans, warranties, whatever. And then you got total fitting fee, your average really kind of fee per person. Okay, and then there's upgraded and then there's free. So free third parties is where the patient doesn't have to pay anything, by the way. Upgraded means the patient paid something. Free means the patient didn't pay anything. Because you think, okay, well, we can compete, we can price match on the people that were paying something, but what about those ones that weren't paying anything? That's not insignificant. Okay, so the analysis goes on and ultimately again shows the cannibalization. If you keep going down, like the total referred, total cannibalized, we put through the third party, and that just reinforces that cannibalization that we had from the previous workflow report. All right. So we got all the numbers. The right box, we did some forecasting on what if. We came with a worst case scenario what if and a scenario what if. And it was honestly, it was this worst case scenario that kind of put the stamp, the seal of approval on we're gonna make third parties. Let me remember.
This is where you draw your courage from.
Yeah, oh yeah. In this business, we were up to nearly $1 million a year in third party revenue.
Out of how much total?
At the time, it was about 7 million. Quite significant amount. I mean,
this is a practice in the Rust Belt, which you might think has more, but I promise you, everybody in the country is dealing with this. This is not well, in my area kind of thing. It's every area.
I'd say, even if they do have more third parties, that just makes the case even better for everybody.
Yeah.
They were able to get rid of them and do just fine. It's just, that's heavy. $1 million. How many businesses out there aren't even $1 million? And this is a business where we're about to rip $1 million of revenue away on the chance and hope that it gets replaced because we're going to live into our better hearing model better. Okay, but let me give you got two numbers that are highlighted: the total impact on the worst case scenario and the total impact on the best case scenario. Believe me, we tried to be super conservative on what we thought was realistic and fair in both scenarios. So like in the worst case, see, it says, assume we keep none of the free people. None. They're gone. Over on the left, we got the upgraded third-party transactions and the free transaction people. Those people go away. And then in the up, meaning the patient was paying something to the third party, and we thought, okay, what if we can keep 50% of those? Why 50%? Because we had options that we thought we could match direct on half. It's like they're not paying any more. They're going to pay the same thing that they were paying the third party. We can keep half of them. Okay, so it's almost like you don't have to talk them into anything. We're going to keep half of them just because our pricing, we can match it. And so we went through all the analysis, annualized, it still was a lift of 700,000. What? And it's like, as soon as we saw that, we thought we're going to do it. That put the seal of approval. The best case scenario, you can see 2.4 million. This business is Lowell Scott's Acute Hearing up in Ohio and Kentucky, Indiana, whatever. We did this as a brief webinar about a year ago and shared this stuff. And so the reason I'm sharing it now, public domain on these webinars, and Lowell's given us permission to talk about it. His business went up over 3 million the next year. Not all that 3 million was attributed solely to third-party patients. We came in somewhere in the middle on the worst case, best case scenario, but it was something in the $2 million range of of the way that we were able to pivot third-party patients into private pay sales. And the business literally went from 7.2 million or whatever to 10.3 the very next year. It was unbelievable. And
Cade, what did that translate into in profitability?
oh, huge amounts. I'm not going to share his profitability specific numbers, but huge amounts.
From not profitable to profitable?
Huge amounts of
Okay.
profitability increase. It's allowed him to do all kind of good stuff in his clinics, even more, clinic upgrades and growing the team and all the things that come with it. No margin, no mission. Add margin, you have a mission you can live into. Oh, and then just some stuff at the bottom. Again, we're not talking about just being blind. Oh yeah, do it, all on a rage of emotion. Objective. So we thought, what would it be other benefits and what would be potential risks? You could risk losing all your third-party patients. What if the clinics fumble it? What if you lose patients over time and you don't realize it? It's a slow bleed out. If your employees don't like it and they quit, Anyway, that's not what happened. What happened is the additional benefits.
Yeah, you don't do it quickly because you've got to train people, Kate, I'd imagine it's a pretty sharp learning curve from taking a clinician that's used to just taking an order for third party and then having them present in a way that changes that over to a private pay situation. What's that process like?
We'll talk about it in depth in the third one. There is certainly a curve, but there is an immediate inherent buy-in that your team will have of moving the ball forward. Your immediate lift is the worst case scenario, and then over time it evolves into the best case scenario. Let's talk about that in the third one in depth. Okay, here's another metric that you'd want to measure. This is one of our proprietary metrics. We don't see anybody out there measuring this in a correct and regular way. This is your average days between someone calling and setting an appointment versus when they show up. Wait time. And I've said in the last webinar and in this webinar, if the only way that I might consider, knowing what I know now, taking third parties is if I'm a brand new business or a brand new clinic and I just need people on my schedule. I'll take anything. The third party transaction is negative profitability. It's less negative than if you don't sell anything, and so it's like you're going to be negative on purpose just to get action, just to meet people and hopefully earn referrals that are private pay. Again, would I literally do that? No, because I've got our clinics at such a pace and we've got a process where we don't have to take third parties even in our startup clinics. But just saying, again, trying to be open to all sort of perspectives and that be the only time. But if your clinic has a wait time that is, say, more than 7 days, or your business has a wait time that's more than 7 days, you should be cutting the rotten fruit, the rotten branches off your tree, and or your team, adding staff in order to see the patients. It's a balance of both things. Say yes to every kind of consumer you can get until you have the luxury to say no. Your business should be your core customer, your better hearing model customer. That's not most of your customers, it's just the core. And you're able to prune it. A gardener prunes a bush, it helps the whole bush thrive and actually grow bigger. And if you prune third parties, for example, off of your trunk, your entire business can thrive from it. So this is another one of those programs that we'd love to run for you if you're interested in having these kind of metrics. and we can show you. And we're at the point now, Steve, where because we've done this analysis several times, if somebody comes, I can basically look at someone's schedule, business's schedule, and tell you yes or not busy enough to get rid of third parties. We can do the analysis if they want, if they want, if that helps them, but you can get rid of them. They're not helping in most scenarios. Here's our final metric for today. This is our actual P&L of our clinics. Why are we showing you this? We want to be open and transparent. We want you to know and continue to remind you that we are walking the walk. We're walking the talk. We're speaking a big game on here, saying, yeah, but we've done it again and again and again and again, and we're not afraid to show you our actual P&L. So this is through October, 6.2 million revenue, over $1 million in operating income. And if you're following us on LinkedIn, you've seen that we've just opened a mega clinic, the BFC in Florida. And this P&L has about 150,000 in BFC build out expenses that are not normal operating expenses. So you would typically have in which would just make our profits even better. So again, we're happy to show this to you. This is pasted out of books, and hopefully that gives you some reassurance on the third party or any message that we share or practice or process that we're sharing. So there you go, Steve.
Well, we're fixing to land this plane and send everybody back to work. I'll say that next month we're actually going to talk about execution, and we're going to have some people who have actually walked through this. I'm excited about this topic because I think being profitable is important. And I know, if you know my background, and everybody on this call does, having a profitable hearing aid clinic, properly profitable, I will say, really profitable, and I mean really not like super profitable, but profitable for real, meaning you're getting paid for the work that you do in the clinic, and you're getting paid as an owner of the clinic, and you have a scalable operation. I will tell you that in our industry, that is not typical. Typically, we have a lot of matriarchal or patriarchal clinics that really, they are built on the back and the brain and the sweat of one particular person. And my encouragement that I'd like to give everybody is that you can be abnormal. You can scale your business. You can bring in a culture to your business of people that can represent you the way you wish to be represented in front of a patient, so that your business can thrive without you providing the revenue. When we're raising our kids, we'd have different maybe standards than other people do at school or with their cell phones or social media or what we did with our Sundays. They would say, well, all the other kids are doing this. And we would say, well, we don't want you to be like the other kids. We want you to be abnormal. I'd like to encourage all of you to be abnormal. You don't have to create a prison in your business. You can have some freedom. And we will also, our offer to you is we will give you this in-depth analysis of your business free of charge. We just like to have the conversation. I think that it's highly likely that will lead to a way that you can engage with Acuity. But even if it doesn't, this is something that we love spending our time on. Kay, do you have anything to add? And have there been any other questions?
We got no chat questions today. And if you're again listening and you have questions going away from this, then please email us, and we'll be happy to answer. webinar just like we did. The point that you're making is so good. It's like, I'd say that let's lead a charge of change in the industry. Let's make abnormal normal again. Make clinics profitable again. But it's fun. It's fun times and good times to be in the industry, and let's keep helping each other. We're happy to share. It's why we're doing this. We want to keep networking and growing and having fun and playing ball. Looking forward to next month.
I'm looking forward to next month too. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody, and go back to work. Take care.
See you, Steve.
Bye.